Hey there everyone, it's Ryan Frontline Animal Removal. Today we're going to talk about my most effective squirrel trap. And when I mean my most, it's the trap that I catch the most squirrels with, and it helps me control critter entry points. So let's check out the trap. So here we have our repeater trap, multi-catch trap, but we normally call it a repeater. And we call it a repeater because it can repeatedly catch squirrels without resetting, because it automatically resets. It's called a multi-catch trap because it can catch multiple squirrels in this back chamber. The most gray squirrels I've ever had in the back chamber of this trap is 10. And I still have hard to believe somehow they fit themselves in there. Now the way the trap functions is we have a door here that functions on both gravity and a little spring that holds it down. The way that it works, the squirrel comes up and he pushes the door open with his nose, and then he crawls into this chamber, and then the squirrel goes up the next door and pushes it open with his nose. Now the squirrel isn't smart enough to realize that he can lift this up and go out. And that might seem very simple and intuitive to us to just lift the door and go out. But what will happen is when the squirrel wants to leave, he tries to go out here where it's very narrow. So he's standing on it. Well, if you're standing on top of the door, you can't lift it up. The squirrel always comes up to this corner where it's the narrowest and tries to squeeze his way out. And it will never allow him to squeeze his way out. The reason why we have two doors is if you have a squirrel in here and you have another squirrel trying to get in, if the other squirrel coming in lifts this door open, this squirrel can come out. So this, having two doors prevents the squirrels from going back out this way if you're dealing with more than one at a time. Very, very effective at holding many squirrels, but there's a drawback with this trap. The drawback is this trap can only be used on an opening. And what I mean by an opening is, let's say you have a hole in your soffit, hole in your fascia, hole in your siding. The trap literally has to get mounted to the hole, and usually when we mount it, we use some hardware cloth. And once it's mounted to the hole with the hardware cloth, you're creating a situation where the animal can exit the structure into the trap, and you prevent other animals from entering the structure because you're using the wire in the trap to protect the hole. Now the drawback is if the squirrels are out of the structure, when you set the trap, you will not catch any squirrels in this trap. But if they're in the structure, when you set it, this trap will catch them. It may even catch them all in one night. So this squirrel is an example of that. When I set this trap, he was in the house. I did not know he was in the house, but he was in the house. And when I came back to check the trap, lo and behold, he was in there. So he happens to be the only one that I've caught using this trap. So because you can only catch squirrels as they leave the house, you have to use other traps in conjunction with this to be effective. So normally I'll set normal cage traps around this trap, because when the squirrels come back, they're going to get into the house, and you don't want them chewing over here where the opening is to get into the house. You want to catch them. So you have to use this trap with other traps to be effective. But when you use this one with other cage traps, you will be successful. It takes some effort to set it up, maybe an hour to get it properly set and put into position, but you control the access to the structure. You can catch a bunch of squirrels at once and get the job done fast. So very effective trap, helps me a lot. So if you're having critter issues and you want to DIY it, you might have to buy one of these, because if you don't guard that hole, you may have problems with squirrels avoiding your other traps. So that's my favorite trap. Thank you.